Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So it's that time of week again. It's our usual Friday night live. So let's come in. Let's see who comes in to join us. Let me get that phone on silent, and then I won't get disturbed. There we go. That's done. Okay, sorry about that. But let's see who's coming in. Extreme temperatures, and now it feels like the temperatures have dropped back down and they're slightly below normal again. So how did you all fare? How did you all get on with that weather, with that craziness? Our garden, some of our plants really struggled. Someone commented on one of my Facebook posts that a lot of stuff, will tolerate a day or two of heat, but the extreme temperatures that we got, one of my squash plants just completely died. It got killed. Quite a few of my other plants seemed to really struggle that day. Everything seemed, all the gardens seemed to sort of go limp, if that's a good way of describing it. But it's starting to settle again. We got a little bit of a rain as well last night, but I went out this morning. I was just out a little bit ago planting some coriander, and the rain has barely gone beyond the first few millimeters of soil. As soon as I rake past the surface of the soil, the ground is completely like dust. It's absolutely bone dry. Ian, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Pound for Pound TV. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thanks very much for coming in and joining us. How is everyone? Hope everyone's keeping well. So, as usual, we're streaming across two platforms. We're on YouTube and on TikTok. Yeah, we're going on multi-platforms. Let me get another device, and then we'll do Instagram as well at the same time, and we'll be live everywhere at the same time. It'll be fun. It'll be fun for me to try and keep track of the comments as well. So let's see who's coming in. Mashuk Reza, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thanks very much for coming in. Hope you're keeping well. Don't forget to hit that like, everyone, as you're coming in. So any questions anyone has, give me an update on your garden. Fire any questions at me as well, and we'll see what we can do. I'm struggling to grow okra this summer. Any tips? Okra is always a difficult one to grow because it needs a really long growing season, and it hates having its roots disturbed. So if you're going to sow them, then you need to sow them in individual pots. A pot that you can grow them big enough in, and then transplant once they're outside. Greenhouses work well for okra. Outside, they'll struggle a little bit. They would have loved the heat that we had a few days ago, but they'll struggle again if we have temperatures like this, and this is what it's forecast over the next few weeks. So yeah, greenhouses probably key for okra. Mimi Susu, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming over. Yeah, we had we had 2 days of it. It was Monday and Tuesday. We had some absolute crazy weather, but it's gone back to normal now, and it's a little bit colder than normal. CW, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Grant, how are you doing, mate? There's one of my friends from a very long time ago. Hope everyone's keeping good. Abdullah is asking, worms and centipedes are good for the soil. Do you agree? Worms are absolutely fantastic for soil. Centipedes are great at keeping pests under control. They're carnivorous, so they're very good for that. So yes, definitely, worms are absolutely essential. Without good worms, a good amount of worms in your soil's unhealthy, and that's one of the problems that we're having, because we use a lot of deep mulch, and because of the dry spell and how dry the soil is, the worms are struggling as well. So the normal red wrigglers and stuff like that would be right breaking that mulch down, they've practically disappeared. I've got loads in my compost piles, but just none in my soil. We've got some earthworms, but not the variety of earthworms that we'd normally have. How often do you water pumpkin? Haven't fruited yet. I'd water pumpkin on a normal week. I'd water them once a week or twice a week at a push if they really need it. But with the heat that we're having, that we had up until a couple of days ago, I'd be watering 3, maybe 4 times a week if needed, and I'd water deep. For one pumpkin plant, I'd want to water at least a good few minutes with the nozzle off, right at the base of the plant, and give it a really, really good deep water. Hannah, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Glad you could join us. First time on the live. So yeah, so this is a chance for you to ask me questions. This is a chance for you to just fire things at me, and yeah, and it's just a bit of a chill out time as well. Staying hot here. Garden is doing great. Grant, that's great to hear. I've been my garden's really struggled this year. I'll be honest with you. I think it could be one of the worst years I've had. Yeah, that's how bad things are. Just things have got in the way. Your life got in the way, and then the lack of rain's really hit us badly. And if I'd had the time, then I would have set up, my grey water, pipes and all of that sort of thing a lot earlier than just setting them up in the last couple of weeks. If I'd have set them up a lot earlier, then at least we would have been catching grey water a lot earlier and getting that ground rehydrated. But because I've let the ground completely dry out and now I'm trying to put water back in, it's hard. It's hard. They're huge but no flowers. Give them time. I mean, pumpkins will start to flower. They should be flowering about now, depending on the age of the plant. Give them a feed with something with a lot of potassium in it. That'll be good. Guys, if you're on TikTok, keep hitting that like for me. That'll be really good for as well. And let's see if we can get a few more people in here to say hello and join us. Kat, how are you doing? Willow Grove, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in and joining us. Dug my red potatoes yesterday. Were they early potatoes or were they your main crop? What we've been doing with the potatoes is been picking them as and when we need them. So I've got quite a few earlies that need picking out of the garden. But I started this diet thing a few weeks ago, and yeah, I'd had a few comments telling me I was getting a little bit chubby. So I started this diet thing a few weeks ago, and alhamdulillah, it's going really well. It's going. I mean, I'm not doing any extreme sort of dieting, just reducing my portion size and increasing my activity level, and it's made quite a big difference already within a 3 week in a sort of 3 week period. But what else was I going to say? So it's done that. So I'm eating a lot less chips. Otherwise, at this time of year, there's we're pulling potatoes every week. Having a weekend is chips. Every weekend is chips. And so I've got loads of early still ready to pull that I just can't pull because we're just not eating them. And the best place to store potatoes is in the ground. I had Red Rooster from the shop. Cheeky burger the other day. Ian, absolutely, that cheeky needed that burger, man. It was good. The family really enjoyed it as well. We don't go out that often to places to eat. The kids wanted a burger, and yeah, so we just went along to this place. One of my friends recommended it, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, as you can probably tell by the smile on my face in that little video, but I really enjoyed it. Ginger, how are you doing? Thank you very much for joining us. Joining a Plague House today. Hope everyone's well. Oh no, you haven't got the. Walaikum assalam. You okay, buddy?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to come
in? No thanks.
Okay.
I must have I can't.
Come on, you're gonna come and say hello.
Let me just go to the toilet first.
Okay. So I hope you haven't all got COVID, but and if you have, I hope it's not very serious. Oh no, second time. So really struggling with the lack of rain here too. The only thing doing well are my French climbing beans. See, for me, everything just seems to be really, really slow. So your pumpkins are huge. Oh, but you planted them late. So you planted them very late. That's probably why they'll flower a little bit later. Let them get bigger. They'll need a couple of months before they start flowering. But once they get established, they should get flowering quite quickly.
Baba,
Sam, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for
can I
coming
have some of
in.
the clay because I want to make the figures and like Super Smash Bros. And the figures out of them.
We'll dig you some clay up for the garden when it's a bit wetter. Guys, if you're on TikTok, if you could hit that like for me, that'd be good. Sam, thanks for hitting that like button, mate.
Okay, I got a movie to get back to.
Okay, you go. What's your thing? Where did you first start when you decided to grow food? We had an allotment but started fresh in the garden, so a lot less space. So Hannah, when we start, the first thing I planted was fruit trees. I sort of, before we started growing any food or setting up any veg beds or anything like that, I decided on where my borders were going to be. Like the edge of the garden, who's going to overlook my garden, what privacy we need, that sort of thing. And so the first thing that I planted were my fruit trees. My initial idea was at the bottom of the garden, keep the fruit trees in line with the fence. But my neighbours, they built a dormer attic. And because their dormer attic looks straight over our garden, I've let the fruit trees now grow double, triple the size that I initially wanted them to. I'll keep them at that size just so I can get some privacy. But that was the first thing. So fruit trees, fruit bushes, and plant fruit bushes that you like. I mean, I went and planted loads of fruit bushes and loads of different type of fruits that I'd never ever heard of. And there's a few loganberries in there, and it turned out I just didn't like them. So they got pulled out. But once we got past the permanent sort of fixtures like fruit trees, then we started deciding on the beds that we're going to build and where we're going to build the beds. And I just used, I had a dormer converted on this house, and all my old roof went to make my beds, and we just built loads of raised beds, and not the conventional type because I wanted to maximize on space. I built massive raised beds, 2 or 3 meters long by 2 meters wide, and then I stuck stepping stones and little paths in the middle of them, rather than smaller beds with quite large paths, because that's just a waste of space. If you've got loads of space, that's fine, but in the amount of stuff that we want to be growing, for us it just didn't work. So we just put stepping stones and little wooden planks down as paths, and then just pick the things that we like. I mean, things that you never go wrong with, or that are quite hard to go wrong with: garlic, onions early in the season, potatoes, really easy plants to grow. And I know a lot of people will say, potatoes are quite cheap to buy, and they're not, because they're cheap to buy, that you don't need to put a lot of, give them a lot of space to grow them. But for those of you who've grown a fresh potato, I mean, I like chips. I'll be honest with you, I like chips, and you can probably tell by my figure that I like chips. But when you get that fresh potato and you cut into it, that crisp sound it makes, you can never match that with a shop bought potato. It just doesn't compare at all. Yeah, that's where we started, and yeah, absolutely tastes so much better fresh spuds. So think about the things that you like, and there's loads of really easy plants to grow as well. New secondhand greenhouse is set up and filled with tomatoes. Peppers are really behind up, but hoping they'll improve in the greenhouse. Congratulations on getting that greenhouse set up, Laura. Fantastic job. Did you get it set up all right, or did you have any trouble? But now that you've got them in the greenhouse, those peppers should start catching up. Yeah. Alan Taggart, how are you doing, mate? Thanks very much for joining us over from Northern Ireland. How's everything over there? What's your weather like? Are you having is your heat did you get that heat wave, or are you just having the same sort of weather that you normally get? Because we got absolutely hammered with, we got some really nice sun. I know it was really hot, but that heat for me is absolutely amazing. The hot, I do better in a hotter climate. I live in pain. I live in a lot of pain all the time. And those couple of days were a couple of nice, almost pain-free days, and that really made a good bit of difference for me, and it really perked me up. My peppers are struggling. Have you got them? Are you growing them in pots in the ground? I mean, we grow ours in pots, loads of fresh compost, or a mix of old compost, new compost. If they're struggling in terms of putting on green growth, give them a hit of nitrogen. Something with a high nitrogen feed, lots of chicken. If you want to give it like an immediate nitrogen feed, crush some chicken manure pellets into some water and water with that. That'll put on a flush of green growth, and then once you wean off that, let them dry out a little bit, and once they've got on a decent amount of green growth, they'll start flowering and start coming on. A lot of my chilies feel a little bit behind. I mean, the season was quite slow, wasn't it? June was quite cold. May was brilliant, and then June went a bit backwards, and July has been absolutely bonkers. But we've still got loads of time. So who else have we gone? So and new users followed the host. Thanks very much for that follow. Appreciate it. And Sam smashing that like button. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you. Normal weather here. Missed the heat wave. Oh, that's a shame, because we got some absolutely bonkers weather. But it was really good. I'm sure that once you start growing your own food, the shop bought ones are taste insipid. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. There is a genuine taste thing. It's not just psychological that you've gone through the effort of doing it, but like one of the biggest taste differences that you'll notice is in tomatoes. Like, I grow tomatoes from home, and we buy tomatoes from the shop when we haven't got our own growing, and the ones from the shop, just for me, they taste bland, they taste stodgy, the flesh tastes a little bit dry, it's just not juicy enough, the skin's a bit weird. But the ones that I grow in the garden, I'm picking them straight off the vine, and just munching and popping, especially the cherry tomatoes, just popping them straight in my mouth and eating them, and I'm loving them. They're like little sweets that the garden's giving me, and I would never do that with a shop tomato. I'd just never do it, and yeah, it is a genuine difference, and the variety as well. You can grow, especially when you grow from seed, you can pick almost anything that you want to buy, anything that you want to grow, and then you've got such a massive choice, and you can pick. It might not be a different taste sensation, but it might be a different color, or it might be a different shape, and you can play about a bit more as well. So there's a lot of fun in it as well. So over on TikTok, Ted, how do you keep your plants water when you're not around to water it? That's a good question. Depends on the type of plants you got. So what I did with a lot of my potted plants when I went away to Bangladesh for a couple of weeks was I transferred a lot of my smaller pots into a large pot, and made sure that I gave it a good water before I went away. things like chilies were going to be all right, a little bit dry. Some other plants will struggle, especially young seedlings will struggle if they're not watered regularly, but they'll also struggle if they're too wet. So what I did with them was I filled a larger container with compost and put the tray, the seedlings into there, wet the compost, and then it just buffered how fast the seedlings got the water. That's one of the things that I did. If you've got things in the ground, if you can look at Olas, OLAS. It's an old South American way of watering where they're like clay pots, and they bury those half into the ground. They fill those up, and then the water absorbs into the ground naturally. Check your weather forecast as well, and if you've got a period of rain coming up, then obviously you're not going to need to water. You're going to need friends. You might even need friends to help you out. So there's a few different things to have a think about. Martin, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. I love the smell of tomatoes. Yeah, I love the smell of tomato plants. Yeah, beautiful. The organic ones on the vine don't taste like. Yeah, the shop organic ones, they don't match homegrown. They just don't match. Absolutely, they're nowhere near. Ted, you're absolutely welcome. Keep hitting that like over on TikTok. Appreciate it. Planet Zog, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Homegrown cherry tomatoes, light sweets. I love it. Yeah, I love it. Nitin, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you doing, man? So I told you I'll find. This is the guy. If anyone saw my last video on watering. So I went to visit him a couple of years ago over at his place, and I think another visit's long overdue because his garden's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely inspirational. If you haven't seen that video, do go and check it out. When I visited Nitin's garden, the amount of work, the amount of thought that's gone into it, absolutely amazing. So he sent me away with loads of stuff, and as I'm walking away, he pulls out this blue fireman's hose and goes, "Here, take that." I goes, "What am I going to do with this?" He goes, "I don't know, but you're going to find a use for it. I want to see you put it to some use." And for a year, I just sort of had it in my house, thinking, "What the hell am I going to do with this roll of blue fireman's hose?" But I finally found a use for it. I've got some more clever ideas than just having it roll down and spout out water. But I just need to find the right connectors and stuff. And once I do anything, I'll have a wicked grey water system. So yeah, so thanks for that blue pipe. I did find a use for it. Shauna, how are you doing, mate? Thanks very much for coming in. All of them going to be strange year this year. Planted plenty, no harvest, and starting again next year. I feel a bit adrift coming into the traditional harvest season. See, if you want some quick growing plants, I mean, right now is a great time to still be planting beetroot. Excuse me. You'll get a harvest this year. Dwarf French beans, you'll get a harvest this year. If tomatoes are late to sow from seeds, but if you can find some plants, get them. You should still do all right. I've still got young. Well, I'm taking suckers off at the moment, and I'm still planting suckers and growing on new plants. And I'm still expecting at least a couple of trusses off those by the end of the season. What else? There's things that you can grow that are going to be late on into the season. So next month I'll go a lot on brassicas. So I'll start sowing a lot on brassicas, radishes straight into the ground, cabbages in random places, kohlrabi in random places, and start sowing those kind of things into seed cells, and they can grow. Go over to the next year. Did you like the heat, and if so, how do you cool down? How do you cool down? I loved Martin. I absolutely love the heat. Yeah, it's really good for me. It helps manage my pain, and so it's really good for me. How did I cool down? I don't think I did. Yeah, in the house it was mainly walking about in my lungi. So yeah, if you don't know what a lungi is, it's you might know what a sarong is. It's very similar. Um, but yeah, Ross, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Haven't been able to catch the live in ages. Love the channel, Ross. I'm glad you've been able to come in and join us. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, we're gonna be live every Friday now. So if you're used to us being live on a Saturday, we're live every Friday at 8 o'clock. Yeah, what's going on here? So my daughter grew a lemon tree and a tomato tree from seed, and the sliced tomato. See, the lemon. See, lemons are notorious when they're grown from seed. They take probably about 10 years before they fruit. So if you're patient, you're gonna get some lemons in a few years. But tomatoes, we grow them from seed. They might not always breed true, but you'll still get a tomato. I mean, it's not going to be anything else but a tomato. We always grow. Do you know, if we ever during the season, if we find some nice vine tomatoes, also any tomato that we actually like from the shop or that's half decent, then what we do with them is we always save seeds from them and we always grow them on. So my Wi-Fi seems to be okay, probably because I'm sat in the park at the minute. Sean, how are you keeping? It's been a while since you've been able to come in. I hope everything's good with you. Bouncer Slab, how are you doing, bro? Hope you're keeping well, mate. I try to visit everyone as much as possible, but I'm not always able. I'm glad you were able to come in and say hello. Hope everything's good with you. Plants are doing nice at the minute with the heat, although some things have wilted because I haven't been there to water. Has anyone had a rain? Because we've been having like little showers, so it's been spitting all day today, and I was hoping we'd get a proper downpour, but it's just been little sprinkles of rain and nothing that's actually gone into the soil beyond a couple of millimeters. Um, One thing that always shows me is that or tells me is that ground cover is so important because you know where the grass is and where the lawn is and stuff like that. Um, the soil is actually wet, so I had a little poke about in the soil and um, with a trowel, and the soil's actually wet there. But where the soil's not wet, oh, so sorry, where the soil's not covered in living plants, the water hasn't really penetrated the soil, and that's a bit sad. So cooking and gardening, they've had small showers in Nottingham. Um, Hopefully you get some proper rain. I don't like these small showers. I want some proper because these small showers, when it's hot, it gets humid and then perfect conditions for blight. I've had a poor season this year, and I don't want any diseases coming in early. AJ, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Is there a charge still available? It will be. We're making some fresh garlic this weekend. We've got chili in stock, and naga will be made during the week, so everything will be ready again this week, this coming week. Um, my brother-in-law's been fixing my website up, so the buying process should be a lot easier as well. So Sam's had it on and off. Anyone else had a decent amount of rain at the minute? Yeah, doing okay at the minute. Yeah, mate. Sean, I'm doing all right. I'm looking after my lemon plant like it's a baby. I've got a lemon plant that we grew from seed. It's probably about 1.5 feet tall. I give it a pruning every year, just to keep its size down. But how old is it? Probably about 4 or 5 years old. So another 5 or 6 years to go before we get any flowers off it. But one day, and if the weather keeps going like this, and it's expected to be hotter and hotter every year, it's going to be hotter and hotter every year. It'll be perfect lemon growing conditions. but shame. Rain today in the north, not super heavy, but needed an umbrella. See, that's one of the things, is that little, really fine rain, drizzly type of rain, but it just doesn't penetrate the soil. I see you for miles. Thanks for all your knowledge. You're very welcome. Glad you came in to say hello as well. Guys, if you haven't hit that like button for me, please hit that like. We're on 27 people watching, 23 likes on YouTube. And I think last time around on TikTok we were at 5k likes. So if you don't mind hitting that like for me. The fine rain, it's called Welsh rain. See, who I don't know who it was. I was talking about Snowdon when I went to Snowdon. Someone replied to me, or left a comment on my pictures from Snowdon, and they said the only way we'd realise that it's summer is the rain's a little bit warmer. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious, because I went to Mount Snowdon, dressed in shorts, t-shirt, thinking, trainers, thinking it's going to be summer weather and I'm going to be going for a stroll. And as soon as I got there, it was raining a little bit. It wasn't cold down at the bottom, but once we got up a little bit, it was snowing, hailstones blasting me in the face. Yeah, it was absolutely mental. There was snow in the middle of June. Yeah, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. So no downpour here yet. We could do with a storm. We've been having these thunderstorm warnings non-stop, and yeah, nothing. I want that big fat rain. I want that sort of thing. So Wakey's had a little bit of a smidge. Martin's had a little bit. Yeah, Martin, I'm in Leeds as well. So yeah, it's that little bitty rain. AJ, yeah, we'll have that garlic made this weekend, and we'll have the naga ready as well. Hopefully by the end of this week, or the week coming, and everything will be back in stock, ready to go. And especially if the website's ready, it's just going to make everything nice and easy as well. Liquid sunshine. Kato family, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Finally being able to catch another live. I'm glad you could join us. Yeah. Can you imagine shoveling all that snow in the seat? It'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? Big fat rain. We've been getting rainstorms every day around 5 p.m. for the last 6 weeks. So, what does it mean on TikTok when other people invite me on lives to do a live together? They're normally people that I don't have any idea who they are. So if anyone knows about TikTok and knows why people are doing that, tell me. So Seacroft, I'm just down the road from you. I'm just off around, just off Easterly Road. So you're not far from me at all, mate. I go up to big Tesco's at Seacroft. Here comes trouble. Here comes trouble. We're okay. see, he came in and he gave you that cheeky giggle as well. So Sam wants a Spanish storm. Not sure what a Spanish storm is. It's just like Facebook video call, but with total strangers. Right. Well, I don't want to talk. Yeah, I don't. You don't know what they're going to show you. So, yeah, big fat rain. So whoever said big fat rain, you set Zaki off. So it's been 100+ degrees for a month straight in Oklahoma. Oh, that's hot. See, we had a couple of days of those sorts of temperatures, and I'll tell you, this country just can't cope. I kept the kids off school for those days because the schools just don't have fans. They're just unprepared. So yeah, I think and I'd prefer them just on a hot day like that. You're not going to get a hot day like that every day. So yeah, just lounge about in the pool, guys, and chill. Little man's getting bigger. He is. We're watching some of his baby videos. What was Zaki? Yeah, watching some of your baby videos today. Tony, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in and joining us. How's everything going? How are you feeling at the moment? It's a big man with a big smile. He's calling you big man. Don't put your finger in your nose, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. He's been calling me his fat dad at the moment. He came up to me the other day, rubbed my belly, and goes, "Dad, I like your fat belly." But he, used to work at Seacroft Hospital back in the day. I hate growing spuds in buckets. I might try one more year. See, I like earlies in buckets. I find earlies, I find earlies are a little bit more delicate than main crop, in earlies and buckets just seem to do a bit better for me than they do in the ground. But with things like main crop, wood chips all the way, or deep mulch, as I'm having to shift a little bit of the mulch that I'm using, because I've been struggling to get wood chips. The last couple of years, I've really struggled to get a hold of wood chips. Kids are brutally, Sam, they're absolutely brutally honest. They don't mess about, do they? They don't mince their words.
Hello.
So, where's it gone? My God, I struggle even with the water. Keto family. I mean, have you? One of the things that I've done, I've seen a big difference on my lawn already. Is I've diverted all my grey water from my showers and from the bathroom, all the grey water straight onto my lawn. I've seen a massive difference with that. Where I wish I could divert the bath, some of the other bathroom shower water into the what's it called, onto the veg beds. I've got the kitchen sink going out there, but if we could get the bath going there, we could get that soil hydrated again. I'm still struggling with all the after effects of COVID. Hardly been to plot. Oh, mate. So you're still not stopping with your article writing here? You're getting enough rest? We'll exchange plants. Yeah, not a problem, mate. I'll let my daughter stay off school. Yeah, it was nice for them as well. They were struggling with it, but we had the pool out, the little paddling pool, and they were just splashing about and stuff like that. And it was even hot enough for me to have a water fight with the kids. And I hate stop messing about, man. And I hate your mum will take you. I hate getting wet in the garden because I get cold. I get cold really quickly. Do you grow? Baba. Yes, Baba. Right, you. So, do we grow chives? Absolutely, we grow chives. We've got we've got chives growing everywhere. Once you get chives planted and established, they'll stay there forever. Yeah. Take them out, divide them, plant them somewhere else. Yeah, they'll grow there everywhere. So Not had a wood chip delivery in 2 years. See, yeah, I'm the same. I've really struggled with wood chips. I don't know. A lot of them probably. It's up there.
I don't know where it is.
A lot of them probably selling them to compost companies or something like that. But yeah. Sunshine, when did you come in? I hope you're keeping well. You had a lightning storm here with no rain, and it was loud.
No.
Missing your vids, Tony, but your health is much more important. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. The guy's like an absolute robot. He doesn't stop. Yeah, he doesn't stop. We've had some rain. Not heavy, but rain. Anything's better than nothing. But I mean, ours has gone barely a couple of millimeters beyond the surface. I've at the moment to manage to walk up my garden to walk my greenhouse yesterday, and then had to sit down for about an hour or so to catch up. See, it's a horrible illness. It really is a horrible illness, and I think I heard on the radio that last week was one of the highest rates of spreading in Britain. Last week was, I think it was about 3.8 million cases. That's just insane. Absolutely insane. But the good thing is that it's a less crazy variety.
You got that.
I see you. Have you ever grown walnuts from seeds? I've been growing some walnuts and I had a whole bunch and they were doing fine until they got about 8 inch and then they started dying off. See, I've not grown them from seed, but the thing that you've got to know about walnuts is that they're allelopathic. So if you've ever seen a walnut tree, you'll notice that other plants don't really grow around the walnut tree because allelopathy in a plant is basically the plant's defense system to ward off competition. So there's chemicals that the plant releases that kills off its competition. So if you've had walnuts close together, getting up to sort of time when they're putting out their leaves and putting on some growth, that could be, but at 8 inches and the same plant, I don't know. But at the same time, you've got to think about that. Were they getting overcrowded? Were they getting watered enough? Were they getting too dry? Those sorts of things as well.
Not me.
Do you have a problem with the antibacterial dish soaps and grey water? I don't think I do. I mean, I've always used grey water. I've used grey water on my lawn. I've used grey water on my veg beds. I don't think I've noticed that big a difference. We'd like to use all the organic type of soaps and all that sort of thing, but they're just so ridiculously expensive. You can't compete with £1 bottle of Fairy that washes really, it's cheap and it cleans your dishes really well. Whereas with the antibacterial, the organic stuff and and that sort of stuff, they're expensive and they don't clean as well. So you have to use a lot more of the stuff. So you go through it a lot faster. That's the thing that I've found anyway. I wish it was a bit more, if it was cheaper, then I think more people would switch to that sort of usage. But with all the synthetic washing up liquids, they're designed to break down quite fast. But the reason that they're a problem is because they're normally released into the waterways, into rivers, into streams, into that sort of thing, and they're released in large quantities. And in the short amount of time that they're breaking down, more's being released, and that's what's clogging up. Then you're getting bacterial blooms in water, and then you're getting fish dying and all that sort of thing. Algae blooms and that's what you're getting from it because there's so many nutrients available. But in the soil, you want that nutrient availability anyway. And as those synthetic wash up liquids or antibacterial stuff all starts breaking down, it's becoming it's becoming fertilizer anyway. So that's my take on it anyway. So we're doing fewer tests now too, so true numbers are probably higher. I've got a PCR because I'm a doctor. I'm a hospital. I still want staff to test. Have they stopped doing PCR tests completely now? Do you know what? What are you doing? Little monkey. My spud's not been watered with this heat, so they're probably done for this year. Is that your main crops as well? Oh, your main crops are going pots as well, don't they? I see you, not a problem at all, mate. I'm having to prune my zucchini leaves because there's less fruit. They're just wanting to grow leaves. Try and give it a bit of encouragement with some potassium-based fertilizer. Sometimes that helps. Sal Ami, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Can you recommend an organic fungicide for blight, please? I've seen so many different recipes. Or is there a product that I can buy for blight? There's nothing. There's nothing available. There's nothing that's been proven to cure blight. The thing to do is to try and prevent blight from striking in the first place, and the most important thing for that is good airflow, and I mean really good airflow. When it gets humid and when it gets warm, it's perfect blight season. So keep an eye out on a couple of websites. There's a really good website called Blight Watch. Keep an eye on that. And then you'll see if there's a blight attack in your area or not. But once it strikes, there's no cure for it. So I know there's a lot of recipes and stuff like that. I don't think there's much of it that actually works. I did a video specifically on blight, on trying to prevent blight or limit its effects. Do check that out. Again, it's trying to manage it rather than trying to prevent it rather than trying to cure it. So Sam wants his energy. Yeah, I want his energy as well, man. I walked up to school to pick my son and my daughter up because it was the last day. My wife and Zaki were walking as well, and they're like 50 yards ahead of me. Zaki's skipping 20 yards ahead of my wife, and my wife's leaving me behind, and I'm huffing and puffing with trying to drag myself up this hill.
I win.
You won, yeah. You beat everyone, didn't you?
Yeah.
You beat everyone.
I left all the persons.
Yeah, you beat all the persons.
I ran in the race.
Where can I get some of your MFG chili sauce, Martin?
Chili.
I was saying earlier on, we'll have them all. We're making garlic again this weekend, where we've got chili in stock. And we'll have the Naga one as well made early on next week. We've got the website ready to work with all the selling and all that sort of thing. So it should start flying. So it should be ready. By the end of this week, you should be able to order directly off the website. So you keep the leaves dry. Drip is really good for preventing blight. Jazz lost all her tons from blight. Yeah, see, I think blight's going to come. I think we've had this heat. We're having this mildy rain that's not, this dampy sort of misty type of rain. I think it's going to bring it. I've been Westland multi-purpose and it's really poor for moisture retention. It's been good for me in the past. See, a lot of the compost. What did I buy? I bought a bag of Westland yesterday. So we'll see what that's like. and I bought a bag from Asda about a couple of weeks ago. Was that you?
Yeah.
Cheeky monkey. Bought a bag from Asda a couple of weeks ago, and that was just really fibrous. It was almost, you know, like lumps of grass that had just dried up, that wasn't broken down. I don't think it's worth calling it compost. What do you think of chicken coops? I want to buy one, but too expensive. Build your own. Look at the chicken coop that I've built on YouTube. I've done a right the way from the start, how I got everything together and finished it off. But yeah, I built mine for practically free. So plastic, yeah, if you can get it, great. But there's loads of free resources out there, and you can spend your money on something much better that you need, and something a bit more valuable to you. Yeah. Where are we? So guys, if you haven't hit that like for me again, please keep hitting that like for me. Let's see. One of the big problems with blight is also, if you're going to grow an allotment and surrounded by other growers, as soon as the weather's right, there'll be plenty of source of infection. Yeah. I think most built-up areas are the same. Yeah, I really think most built-up areas are the same. I mean, last year we did really well. You know, we didn't get blight until right at the end, right towards the end of the season, sort of end of mid-October, that sort of time. We got blight, and by that time I'm okay if we get it at that sort of time. But we got through most of the season all right. Yeah, but all the companies are removing peat, and they're removing peat, but they're not allowing the peat-free stuff to mature enough to turn into proper compost before they sell it to us. Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. What's the best chicken breed? See, it depends on what you want. I mean, if you want egg layers, you're not all around. I think, the red laying hens. If you've got a family, you want eggs that you can't beat. The red laying hens. If you want something that looks cool, silkies are always cool and full of character. They also make really good broodies. I've got a couple of leghorns in the garden. They're really inquisitive. Zach, you need to slow down. They're really inquisitive. They're really flighty though. But find some interesting ones that you like as well. Exactly. If you're gonna do that, then we're gonna go. Multi-purpose compost I got from Wix this year was much better than the B&Q stuff. Thankfully, it's part of a huge order to get my new garden started. See, once you've added the manure, I think that'll make a big difference. See what I did with I bought some couple of bags from Asda. Did you get it from Asda or did you get it from B&Q? Yeah, Asda. So yeah, it was Asda, and what I did with that was I mixed in, a bucket of compost from the potatoes, so used compost, and I mixed it together. Slow down, don't think that's possible. Sam, yeah, I mean, even he sat on my lap and he wants to bounce. Yeah. Fight. You're gonna fight. What are you gonna do? You're gonna arm wrestle? Go on then. Let's have an arm wrestle. This way. Come on. Oh, he won. See, he's winning me at everything today.
And I can win.
There's cocoa corn dry quick. See, in a mix it'd be okay, but I've seen people just use cocoa coir or as quite the bulk a lot of the compost out with it. I don't think it's that great, unless it's in a mix.
Round two. Let's do round two.
Horse manure is good. Yeah, it really is good.
Papa. Let's do round two.
I think large animal manure. 1 second. Large animal manure is absolutely amazing. Horse manure, cow manure, goat, sheep, you know, all of these kind of things. I think and those kind of manures, they're absolutely amazing for the soil. It's the main reasons I grow all my tomatoes in the greenhouse at home, to keep it away from the source of infection. No chances at the plot. See, this is the problem, right? I've snuck. I've probably got 4 or 5 tomato plants in the greenhouses this year, but my chilies get my greenhouse space, and you know, my exotics. So my snake gourds, my ridge gourds, my hyacinth beans. They get my greenhouse. You know, the plants that are quite precious. So the tomatoes all end up getting kicked outside, except a few plants. Someone I know has a horse. He gives the free rotten manure. The soil is changed almost red. See, he doesn't use chemicals on his horse. See, he will be using some chemicals, because he'll always be using some kind of antibiotics. He'll always be using. Alright, he might be feeding them organic, but yeah. So just be wary. But you can't beat large animal manure. I don't think you can touch it. Human manure is good as well. If you're not squeamish enough, if you're unsqueamish enough to use it, human manure is absolutely fantastic. Where have we gone? That's a shame. I was so frustrated. I missed Planet Zone's comment. Go to Aldi, my friend York Road for soil. See, I went. We got the little stuff. Yes, the little stuff was good, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't good enough. Not compared to what it's been in the past. I haven't tried Aldi. I might have a look at Aldi. I say Warrens for eggs. Absolutely, Warrens are amazing. Do you know the red laying hens?
They're ready from the arm.
Red laying hens, they're really friendly as well. You know, if you've got kids, they're absolutely. You're another arm wrestler. Go on then.
We're having the final round.
Go on then. The final round. So they're absolutely amazing. Oh, you won.
We had a final round and I won.
You won every round. How'd you get so strong?
Like eating lots of food.
Eating lots of food. There you go. That's how you get strong, by eating lots of food. That's guys. If you want to get strong, that's the way to do it. So I had plastic and glass in little compost and just wood pieces. A lot of it comes from green waste, so you will get wood pieces in it. But sifted off little was one of the better ones, actually. It was better than Asda, because Asda compost was just grass. I haven't opened up the Westland one, so we'll see what that's like when I do. I've got light Sussex, Rhode Island Red, Black Morant, and some ISA Warrens. Light Sussex are really pretty, aren't they? I've never had Rhode Island Reds. I keep meaning to get some of them. They're ones that I do want. Warrens are brilliant. I love Warrens. Biryani man, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you doing? Sunshine, I missed your comment. What don't you see anymore? I missed something.
Out.
Do I have a human manure set up? I don't have a human manure set up. I'm not allowed. You know, my wife says she puts up with plenty of me doing plenty of disgusting things. That's just one step too far for her at the moment. I'll get it. I'll convince her. I'll keep working on her. And maybe if we ever get a farm, then I'll get one set up. But at the moment, yeah, I'm just one step of disgustingness away from living in the garden. Little Wing, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Hope you're keeping well. I urinate on my compost all the time. Yeah. See, you have to do that, but you have to do it in secret over here. Is Irish peat moss worth ordering, and what can I use it on? See, I think there's make your own compost. That's always going to be my advice. Make your own compost. There's there's good enough alternatives to peat. I mean, the reason that the compost that are coming in are so poor is because they want to just capitalize on their profits, and they're just rushing stuff through. So sending love from Manchester. I hope you're keeping well. Thank you very much. Hey, Zaki, there's lots of emojis there for you. I've collected an insane amount of these, making leaf mold to try and get a decent amount of potting compost. See, for potting compost, I use a lot of my old potting stuff, the stuff that I've grown. Once I take my chilies out and my other plants out of the pots, I'll rot that down again, but I'll rot it down separate to my main compost piles. Mix in a bit of fresh compost and sift it off, and that turns out to be really good seed starting mix. Is it possible to urine instead of chemical fertilizer? Urine's fantastic. I mean, there's loads of fertilizers that you can make. If you don't go comfrey already, I'd say start going some comfrey. Comfrey, you can rot that down and turn it into fertilizer. You can get nettles to fertilizer, dandelions, dock leaves, most weeds. You can rot them down into fertilizer. So there's loads of alternatives, especially for us on a small scale. Yeah, they're absolutely there's loads of alternatives. So I like Moran chickens, deep core eggs. I think Morans are brilliant. And crested cream leg bars. Leg bar chickens are great as well because you can get blue eggs, green eggs, that sort of colour as well. So they're quite nice for something a little bit different. Leghorns are good because they lay white eggs, so that's something quite nice as well. My grass cuttings are holding in the heat for my spuds and stuff. Oh, wicked. I'd like to do human home, but not in my little one for when I can get a further. See, that's exactly where we're at. That's once I'm already known as a weirdo in the neighbourhood, but if they start. Yeah, I'm not going to say out what I was thinking. I won't say that out loud. Walaikum assalam. How often should I water my other plants? Because a few of them just rotted away and some said I water them. But I thought in this heat wave we need to water them every day. The thing is, depends on how you're watering them and how big your pots and stuff are. So if your pots are shallow, then probably daily watering is necessary. If your pots are big, maybe a deep watering a couple of times a week is enough. But before you water, check the soil. Have a look down into the soil and see, see how wet the soil is and how much the soil actually needs water, and then you can decide what you're doing. Gardening D, walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Take care. I'll see you later. Alan, you take care, mate, and I'll see you again next week. Same time, same place. Guys, we've actually gone past the hour mark as well. My neighbour gave me eggs from her garden and they stank. They might have been rotten. Yeah, so that or they might, yeah, but yeah, everyone, we passed the hour mark, so I'm going to call it a day here, guys. Just a reminder, we're live every Friday at 8 o'clock. Next Friday we're going to be taking a break for a week, and we're back again the week, from the first week of August. So I'm going to leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Are we?